Good afternoon, everyone. Today is October the 10th, 2025. My name is Cliff Berry. I want to go over some health things with you. I've been in the health fitness industry for many, many years. I started in my early teens. Uh, Later did a little bit bodybuilding, powerlifting, and personal training. Then I have done truck driving. Next month will make 11 years. I'm on a break right now, so I have time to share a lot of good information with you. One thing I'm going to ask you to do, if you will, go pick up my book, where books are sold. I would really appreciate you if you would. Uh, it's called Body First. But anyway, I want to share with you some knowledge. I want to talk a little bit about obesity in our country, in countries, and USA being one of the biggest on obesity. I didn't never know that I would fight with obesity, but I've been fighting with obesity, although I've done pretty well to keep the weight off me, being in the truck for the last almost 11 years. But it's been a lot of hard work to be able to do that. So I understand when people's on the go, life is high demand, you got high responsibilities, you got families. I definitely get it. But and then on top of that, a lot of us came out of homes where we had very little to eat. We had to eat what was available. A lot of bad habits was created, and that's one of the main keys that America is like they are today. We're on a high rise. We're on a very high rise of 35% of the nation. And I think it should be a obesity management that the government should sponsor. But so much for that. People have to learn how to manage their health along with their responsibility, which I know it's a hard task. I'm going to briefly talk about some of the things that I've done and I teach, because everybody teaches diet. Everybody teaches food choices. I'm going to get into some of that also. But what worked for me with a lot of my clients back in the Atlanta days of training, I taught it 3 ways. I said, look, there's 3 ways I want to get you started when they came in and was interested, or whether the doctor sent them in and didn't want to really come in to see me. But they knew they had to get under their health to be better functionable for their life if they wanted to live longer and not be on a lot of medications, which some things are hereditary, and you can only do the best you can with those situations. But I taught 3 things. I said, if we can get 3 things on key: cardio, weight training, nutrition. Cardio, weight training, nutrition. And it's a way to do all of that. We'll get in that later. So I knew if I could get them in once, twice, or 3 times a week and got them to moving and got them to do some cardio and got them to do a little bit of weight training, and that the nutrition would make them aware. Okay, it's now start for me to start watching what I'm eating with all of this. But number 3 is, I always used it on the back burner, but actually it should be on the front burner. And that's what I want to talk about today. A little bit of that is the nutrition. And the reason why I want to talk about the nutrition, because you can't out-train a bad diet. But if I can make you conscious and get you to thinking about your diet and about your habits, whether they're good or bad, because it takes 21 to 30 days to break or make a good or bad habit. So I used to always tell people, give me 30 days. Give me 30 days of consistency of something and showing up. So if I can get 30 days, I figured that they could change their life. Same thing today that I practice. I want to talk about, put some quick emphasis on some things. Because everybody usually, if they're obese or if they're not satisfied with their body, which a lot of people are not, first thing they want to think, a fast vehicle. Let me hurry up and lose a lot of weight. Wrong. You want to try to find the fastest vehicle that's going to get you to lose a lot of weight real quick. You want to find the best diet, the quickest diet that they're going to pull off the weight. And faster is not better. You want to jump into a slower vehicle and getting the weight off, because the ultimate goal should never be really to lose weight. Your ultimate goal should be lose the fat, keep the muscle. I'm going to say that again. Your ultimate goal shouldn't be to lose weight. Your ultimate goal should be lose the fat, keep the muscle. Okay, but even in that, it takes some good habits developing. And as I stated, a lot of us came up in homes. I know in my home that I come up in, you had to eat what was put before you. And not only that, a lot of us was told when it was put before you, you better eat all your food, because they knew how important the food was and the limit of having food. So they taught us, eat all your food, which you have to respect them for that. But when you learn better, you do better. So I want to talk about a few things here. I got a saying on my board here. I have had it for over 20 years everywhere I went, and I want to put a little emphasis on that. But it says the key in eating is the quantity of food. The answer is the when and what you eat. I'm going to say that. I'm going to let you read it again. The key in eating is the quantity of food. The answer is the when and what you eat. So, if we focus on more of the quantity, people put a lot of emphasis on food choices. That's fine and dandy. But what if you can't afford those food choices? Which really, healthy food is not that expensive as people make it is. We'll get in that later on also. But just say if you can't, whatever you eat, you ought to look at it as how much is I'm getting at one setting, for one. Two, when you sit down and eat that food, before you eat that food, to determine the amount that you should really eat, you should eat according to your activity. I get people asking me all the time, what should be my cutting off time eating in the evening? I heard it's 5 o'clock. I heard it's 6 o'clock. I heard it's 7 o'clock. And one day I had to tell one lady, I said, let me ask you something. If you're eating at 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, which most people do, because if they work all day, a lot of times it's high impact day, sometimes you don't stop when you needed to stop, and you just ran yourself all day. And to come home and sit down at a good meal, it's like it's refreshing. Not only is refreshing, it makes you feel good, it makes you relax, makes you sleep well. But is it good for you? No. Those are sitting calories that you're about to lay down on. So my question was to her, I said, look, ask yourself, what is I going to be doing the next 2 or 3 hours? And let that determine, should you be eating or how much you should be eating? And I don't want to encourage anybody to deprive themselves, because sometimes I have to eat at night. If you don't got your body into a routine of eating at night to go to sleep, you're going to want to eat at night. But just be aware, uh, those are calories are not burned. The food is made to be used, just like your car. You know, you wouldn't want. Well, sometimes we do it, but what is the purpose of having a vehicle? You fill it up with gas and park it in your driveway. You ain't going nowhere. Usually, you want to fill your car up when you got to go for a long distance. So think of the same thing with your body. So the key in eating is the quantity. The quantity, sometimes we all really eating too much for our activity level. What I mean by that activity level, my mom used to always have a saying as we was kids, because we was in and out of the fridge. She said, you eating like you're about to go roll logs. So if you're doing something vigorous, like about to work out, or about to rake your yard, or something heavy duty, house cleaning is not on that list. Just a brisk, slow walk is not on that list for a heavy meal. So I just gave you some similarities there to let you know about the quantity. Let that be your guide. And that will help you out with monitoring your weight and obesity. And fighting obesity. We must fight obesity, because it can create heart disease, strokes, and all cancers and all other things. So the key in eating is the quantity of the food. The answer is the when and the what you eat. I used to tell ladies all the time, they used to ask me all the time, said, can I have fruits? I like fruits. And most of us is fighting with one or two of our enemies, or if not both. And those two are either salt or sugar, or both, salt and sugar. And that can lead to being a diabetic, having high blood pressure. So we got to focus on more of the quantity, the when, and the what for the answer. So the when, I would tell a lot of the ladies, because they didn't want to do that strict diet. I was given a strict diet when I first got into bodybuilding, and that diet consisted of, I couldn't believe it, because I wanted to be serious about what I was doing, because the gentleman came up to me, it's in my book. He said, look, man, you got a great physique. I think you'll make a great bodybuilder. And I said, well, man, I never done bodybuilding all my life. I said, all I've done is worked out. I like working out. He said, well, now you talking about a whole new dimension of just only not working out. You're going to monitor your diet. You got to do cardio. You got to do poses. You got to structure your body to get ready for these shows. I said, okay. He said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. He said, I'm going to give you a diet to follow. He said, you want to do that diet at least 12 to 16 weeks. And when he gave me that diet, it had on there no sugar, no salt, no dairy, no bread. I was like, really? Can I discipline myself to do this? But everything always starts in your mind. If you tell yourself you can, you can. If you tell yourself you can't, you can't. How determined are you going to be? So in all essence and all saying, I eliminated those items. It could have been the greatest thing that could ever happen to me, because I learned that we have a lot of in our food choices, processed food, we have a lot of sodium in those foods. We'll get in that later on. Also talk about nutrition a little bit more. That's what we're talking about when we talk about salt, sodium. It's a killer. Too much of it. And I noticed that when I first started trying to get the weight off and doing my cardio and everything, if I sweat and sweat got in my eyes, it would burn. And I would immediately have to wipe my face. About 3 months, 3 weeks, 4 weeks into the diet, I started noticing I would be sweating and the water would drip into my eyes, but it didn't burn. I said, That was a rude awakening of how much sodium that had been in my diet. But then I said that to say this. When I talk to the ladies about changing the times of the when and the what, because they was not willing to go to this extreme that I told them that I had went through in getting my body right and getting into bodybuilding. They said, I don't want to do that. Which I understand it. Everybody wants to, it's no one fix. There's nothing, no one way. It's no one way of working out. Really, sometimes this is the best way. Well, might not be for everybody. Especially depends on your age, your limitations. I get in that later on. But anyway, back to what I'm saying. Since they didn't want to do it, I said, I'll tell you what, why don't you do this? What you like? What is your weakness? And most of them would tell me, my weakness, I like fruit. Oh, I like cake. I like ice cream. I said, when do you eat it? Oh, I eat my fruit at night before I go to bed because that's healthy. I said, no, it's a fruit. Fruit is good for you, but it's a natural sugar too. And depends on that fruit. Some fruits are high glycemic and some is low glycemic. So it still need to be, those are calories and carbohydrates that needs to be used and burned off as much as possible before laying down. So in all essence, I told them change it. If you like fruit, eat it early. If you want your cake, eat it 11, 12 o'clock. I know you want it at night because it's a comfort food. You want your cake and ice cream before you go to bed. But if I can get you to switch it, since you don't want to do a diet thing, and really diets don't work unless you don't stay with them. Even when we was bodybuilding, we did the diets 12, 16 weeks after the shows was over. We come off the diet. We might have lost 20, 30 pounds, but real fast, you put from the regular food that you eat and from being without, you put that weight right back on real quick. 15, 20 real. Of course, if you got more muscle density, more muscle mass, and you're working out regular, you're not going to quite put it on that fast. But you can rest assured you're going to put on at least, if you don't stay with the diet, you're going to at least put on 10, 15 pretty fast. If you don't drop 30, for example, if you don't drop 30 pounds, you're going to put on about 10 to 15 kind of quick and stabilize if you're in good shape. So I like the way I put emphasis on this because I start seeing the changes in our bodies. Just from that change. The when and the what. To the point that I had to ask them. I said, do you follow any of the diet stuff that I gave you? They said, no. All I've been doing is my cardio, my weight training with you, and the when and the what. So anyway, I want to share that with you today. And please patronize with me with the Body First book. I appreciate you very much. Thank you. And I'll see you on the next time.